Hello, my name is Margit Maurenbeek, and I'm so glad you're all here with me tonight because we were all supposed to be here last Monday, and then an unfortunate something just happened and I couldn't be here. But everyone else was prepared and I was not prepared. But tonight I'm prepared and I'm so honored because I've been looking forward to talking to Sally for the past couple of months to this kuier. I have read her books the past couple of months and I was thinking how real the stories are and how real this person is. And before I carry on and tell you about my whole journey with Sally's work and how I was introduced to it, I think I've got to introduce our guest of honor, the author, Sally Andrew.
I've got a murder and a milk tart, that's what I've got. Some like it cool, some like it hot. So the most important question for you, Margit, is do you like your milk tart cool or hot?
It depends, Sally, what time of day you're asking me that. But Sally, you look wonderful. And
you look wonderful. You are, Marilyn. That people, like, I know I don't want to embarrass myself in front of all these people, but I just want to tell you, this isn't actually my real hair.
No.
But yours obviously is. It's so beautiful. You're so Marilyn.
But Sally, this is the first time I'm interviewing an author that actually asked me, will you please dress up?
Really?
Yes, that's a thrill. I mean, you should carry on writing books, but you've got to go into performance. This is wonderful.
No, I can only do sort of 30 seconds once every few years. I'm already starting to I was careful not to channel Marilyn because I read that she actually vomits from anxiety before, which she used to. She was a terribly highly stressed. And I thought, I'm so glad I'm not a 30-something sex symbol and I can just be silly for like a minute or two once every few years.
But I think that's what we all need to do. We need to be them to actually get through life. But okay, why do you dress up? You dressed up for your previous 3 books as well?
Yeah, I think actually it's my father who taught me when you have an event, you provide some entertainment. And it's often something I don't really feel like doing, but I'm feeling such gratitude at the love people have for Tannie Maria and for my books and the support I've had that I thought like, I just need to do something a little bit extra to show that. And each book, there's a different character. So the previous book was I dressed up in leathers, but I forgot to actually tell people I'm dressing up as a character. So people just think I'm like, just dress up weirdly. The previous one I had
tough cookie. They thought, oh, Sally's just going tough now. Very good.
She's just tough. And the previous one I wore this really grubby mechanics overall and they just thought I had no fashion sense. So maybe I must just explain that Marilyn Monroe is a character in the book. And in fact, the first murder takes place during a Marilyn Monroe movie. Could I just read that paragraph?
Please.
So the first movie takes place at Opa Frik's Fantastiques, which is a treasure and junk store in Ladismith. And Tannie Maria is there with her boyfriend Henk, and Jessie and Reichardt are always there, and they've just finished watching the cartoons, Popeye the Sailor Man. Henk held my hand. The movie was Some Like It Hot. Black and white with Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon. It was funny and sweet and sometimes scary when people were killed. For a while, it seemed like everything was going wrong and there was no hope for the lovers. But then, in the end, everything turned out all right. Movies should always be like that because real life often isn't. We need to live in hope, or else why keep going? We want to believe pain and sorrow are things that will pass with the wind and that love and happiness can belong to us like the earth beneath our feet. I'm going to carry on a little bit because it introduces the book. When the film was over, we were all smiling. We waited for the reel to be turned off and the lights to be switched on, but that didn't happen. The white screen just kept on flickering. Someone called out, "Wake up, Opa Frik, it's finished and klaar." Halmina had been sitting in the audience, but now she got up and went to the projector room and pulled open the curtain. a beam of pale light flooded out. She screamed. Then she said, "Hey, Stuart, Opa Frik, he's dead." So that's where the first murder begins. But the little paragraph summarizes the whole book. And in a way, Maria and my philosophy on life is around you got to look at the blinkkant. Not only at the blinkkant, but you can't live always moaning, and you've got to believe that things can change, and you've got to live in hope, and you've got to celebrate life, and why not? Why not?
Absolutely. And I looked up a couple of Marilyn quotes, and she said a wise girl knows her limits, and a smart girl knows that she has none. And I think she was talking about, I think she was actually, you said you don't want to become Marilyn, but I think she was actually knowing you would come around. And what else she said is that I really liked, I'll find that just now. She only wore Chanel number 5 to bed. So can maybe channel her again. But what I want to know is, this is your 4th book. Is it difficult? When you started out, did you know it was going to be a series of books? Or did you think Tannie Maria was going to be a once-off?
No, I definitely had a sense I wanted to spend some time with her. And I had this notion of 4 books in 4 different seasons: summer, autumn, winter, spring. This last one was a spring, and then a cookbook. So I had that picture in mind, and I'll have to see what comes next, whether I'll keep in the seasons. But that was my intention from the beginning. And then I thought I'd sit and see what people think and whether I should continue, and how Maria and I feel about each other. But so far, so good. So I think it will continue.
But Maria is a very special, Tannie Maria. At first, when I read the first book, I thought Tannie Maria, and I imagined her older, just because of the Tannie, because I'm Afrikaans. So in our culture, Tannie is older. And yes, it was the Tannie of the agony column, but still, I thought she was going to be older. And then the more I read it, I realized, no, she's like my age. Tannie Maria is not old at all.
Well, we haven't accepted that we're 50-something, have we?
Something's not old.
I know. But we are Tannies. We just got to face it.
Yeah, we are Tannies that likes dressing up and like living.
And Tannie isn't yeah.
Sorry?
No, I'm just saying a Tannie isn't such an old thing as we thought when we were younger.
No, my grandfather always said 10 years older than yourself, that's old. So yes.
That's old. And maybe also to explain, because I think we might have people from around the world, Tannie means auntie.
Yes, there's a lot of Afrikaans in your books, which is wonderful, especially if you're an Afrikaans reader or a South African reader. But even though if you don't understand Afrikaans, you will still get the gist of the book. And it makes it very real, makes it very South African. Which is wonderful, because I just drove down to the Oudtshoorn Festival now and passed through Ladismith, where everything happens in all your books. And I felt proud. I was like, that's in the book, and that store, and that street, and yes. And I think it's wonderful if people can read a book, visualize it, and then go and visit the town. And yes. I think you're actually putting Ladismith on the map.
Yeah, so maybe to explain to those who haven't read the book, that I live just outside Ladismith, and the books are set in Ladismith, and the main character is an agony-aunt who works for the Klein Karoo Gazette based in Ladismith, and she gets drawn into murders through working with Jessie, her sidekick, well, her investigative journalist. I'm just giving I keep sort of bearing in mind that some people are from around the world, so I just want to share that little bit of the background. But
absolutely.
That's the wonderful thing, is that my real life in just outside Ladismith and living in the Klein Karoo overlaps with Tannie Maria's real life.
And here's someone saying, Lisa just said she's from America. I'm an American. I absolutely love all of the Tannie Maria books. I agree, Lisa. It's I was so fortunate, Lisa, that what happened is when Exclusive Book asked me to have this chat with Sally, I was said, yes, I want to, but I've never read her books. And I thought, oh, they were actually quite, I think they were actually very disgusted with me and said, what? Read me the first 3. And I couldn't stop. You kept me out of my sleep. You kept me out of my work. But with a full thing was normally you read one book and of an author, and then you want to get the second one immediately, but you can't because it's not there, or you have to go and buy it, or you have to whatever. And I had the next one ready and the third one ready. And then I start nagging them, when do I get the Milk Tart Murders? Because I couldn't. And now it's number one all over where I go, in exclusive books, online, everywhere. This book of yours is number one.
That's so amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. What I was asking, Tannie Maria. Okay, we've established now we are actually Tannies. Okay, we've just started accepting.
I'm actually starting to overtake Tannie Maria. She started off older than me, but her books only move every 3 months, but they take me a few years to write them. So I got a bit of a scruck when I overtook her.
Tannie Maria, how much of Tannie Maria is in you, Sally?
I think it's very important that you keep your main character as different from you. So she's an aspect of me. I'm not I'm catching up with her, but I'm not a short, plump, half Afrikaans Tannie. I'm not a brilliant chef. I'm not so grounded and wise as her. So she's like an aspect of me that's teaching me. But we do share the Klein Karoo and the love of the Guariboma and the birds and the wilderness. And we do share a love of justice. And we do share a healing journey around love. And we do share a sense of wanting to do the right thing, which is what takes her on her murder investigations. And we share a little bit of a quirky, poetic way of looking at things, although hers are always linked with food or nature, more food than nature. So there is definitely that overlap zone.
Okay, and you used to live in Cape Town, and you used to not be a full-time writer. What happened that made you decide, I'm going to make that shift? I'm actually going to plunge in and do that and move to the Karoo and do this?
Well, it was a little bit the other way around, actually. I think the move to the Karoo the move to the Karoo definitely shaped the character, Tannie Maria. I think the thing that happened was I got so ill I couldn't brush my hair. So that was probably a changing shift in my life. I had ME, or chronic fatigue syndrome. And until then, I was very much driven by being an activist, doing educational work, although a certain aspect of that activism was writing work. And I do some writing of English as a second language, which also helped educate me into how to express difficult concepts in a language, in a simple way for people who spoke English as a second language, and not that cleverness doesn't mean boekgeleerd. So I think that was an aspect in training me. But really it was when I was too ill to do educational work, and then I shifted to doing more writing work, and I did writing educational work. And then I did a book called The Fire Dogs of Climate Change that was creative and educational. I loved the creative bit so much that I kept going with that. And because I think sometimes it's only when you're suffering a lot that you're really willing to say, what really brings me joy? What really gives me energy? And I really did love the creative writing. And it was like, okay, now I'm no use to the world anyway. I've been trying to save the planet, and I was very involved in the anti-apartheid movement, and then very involved in climate change stuff. But it was just burning me out. It was burning me out. So I believed in those things, but somehow being an activist wasn't regenerating me. And I loved the writing so much. And I thought, well, here I'm lying half gefrik. What can I do actually that I love and that will energize me? And then I gave myself permission to just have fun. And I wrote one book that was such fun. It wasn't the book that was published, and then it didn't really fit into a genre, but I had hundreds of rejections for that. But the rejections were so kind that I then thought, okay, maybe I can keep up trying this, but at least let me try and write in a fixed genre, and one that a publisher can find a place on the shelf for. So I chose murder mysteries because I love reading them, and I love reading Agatha Christie, and I wanted to write it in a literary way because I also love reading Bosman and Barbara Kingsolver, and so I like beautiful writing. So, and I like to explore the theme of love and continue on my own healing journey, because although I got physically better to some extent, I still feel I'm on a lifelong healing journey, and a lot of that revolves around love. And Maria was a way for me to explore that.
You started off by making me laugh, and now cry, which is so inspirational. And and you're right. It's when you're at your low point that you think Well, I've got nothing, not nothing to lose, but
It's a little bit like that. I've got nothing. If I carry on like this, I'm kidding myself. But for me, it's a bit pathetic. Well, it's a bit sad that me and people will go on so long against the grain of your life and kind of look at the illness as, oh, this is a thing that's being done to me, instead of as a message that what I'm doing something wrong here.
yes.
And not in a bad judgment way, but it's a wake up call.
Well, it's inspirational to know that you actually, you saved yourself by writing.
I did. I was thinking once of writing a book about writing for my life. Writing for my life. There are a few ways in which writing has saved my life. One of them was actually, there's an exercise that Rickus gives in the Satanic Mechanic book.
Oh, I love that book.
Oh,
all your books, but that one I can just picture. And in that circle, I wanted to sit there, I wanted to be there. I wanted to smell and, I wanted to be there and taste and Your books does that, all four of them. You can really visualize, but I can always also taste and I can smell and I can really experience what you're trying to tell me. It's not just words.
Yeah, I think there's so much sensual images in the Karoo that one can bring in and the cooking can bring in. So the Satanic Mechanic saved my life in that once I had an anaphylactic shock. And we were far away from a car. It was a long walk down a hill in a place called Smitswinkelbaai, and there was no cell phone reception. And I had an anaphylactic shock and I couldn't breathe. And my face, my body was swelling up. I knew I wouldn't get up the hill. And I remembered the Rickus's breathing exercise, where you breathe in for a certain number of seconds and out, and you keep that rhythm regular, and it shifts things in your brain and your heart. I think I'd seen it on some one of those TED Talks, and I integrated it into the book. And I did this. I remembered it from him, and I did it. And then the inflammation went down, and I could breathe again. But I literally thought, now that book has saved my life, because if I hadn't written about it and remembered it from that, and given Tannie Maria a situation in which she was in such a tight situation. In book 3, actually, she was stuck in the Kango caves. She couldn't breathe. I'm just pausing briefly while I'm going off screen while you ask the next question, because the front door is open and it's letting in a chill breeze. But
no problem. And with that Marilyn bare shoulders, you don't want a chill breeze, you don't want to catch a cold. While we're waiting for Sally, if you've got any questions, we are going to have a Q&A. There's a Q&A at the bottom of your screen. You can just write down your question there. You're more than welcome to chat as well, but it's easier in the end just to go to the Q&A for us to answer all the questions, or for Sally to answer all the questions. And also this book, it's available at Exclusive Books. I don't know if there's anything left, because everywhere just number one, but you can get it, you can buy it online as well. And you're not going to be sorry. You're just going to fluke. You're going to fluke Sally because you don't get sleep, and you're going to fluke her because you don't finish your work, but you're going to and you know what, Sally, since I started reading your books, I've recommended them to so many different people, but there's a variety of people. Normally I know, okay, this genre, I know that friend will like it. This genre, I know that friend will like it. I know my squingal, she will like this. I know, no, that's too old. No. But my daughter is 12. I told her she can start reading it because she'll, because it's so well put together. So I know you've got an audience you're writing for, but what I want to tell you is your audience. I actually thought, okay, so I really thought, okay, more female. And then this weekend, while I drove to the Karoo, my friend who was driving, he's an English teacher, he said, no, he loves the books. He's already read the first 3. And I told him, okay, so he's got to go and buy number 4. So you've got a wide market. It's not just because of the love story. I thought maybe male readers wouldn't enjoy it that much, but they do.
Yeah, I've been surprised, because I also thought, well, firstly, generally women read fiction a lot more, but I've been surprised at the number of men who've really been moved by it. And also the number of, I find it so cute, couples they'll deliberately slow down the book by they read a chapter. So one reads to the other each night, and they do that. And I find that so cute.
That's very cute. I wonder if my husband that.
I want a man who reads to me.
Yes, I do.
I want to say hi. We've got a few chats. There are people from all over the world. It's so cute, from USA and from Scotland. And so it's lovely to have people online. And we've got, at least 50 people here. Shame, I think we lost some people last week. Although, who knows? People register, they don't pitch up. So there are people from all over. So just pop in the chat where you're from. And hello, and thank you for pitching up to a Zoom launch. I sort of thought, what about, why did you go to a Zoom launch? But it is lovely to be able to sit in your own home and eat your own milk tart.
And you know what's nice about a Zoom launch? People can watch it later on as well.
Okay, so it's recorded. That's a scary bit.
It's recorded.
That's why I didn't do the blowing up of some of the other launches I've got. People have got at the end of the song, there's a fan or blow dryers, and then like Marilyn, they blow up the Rocky, and I push it down, but sometimes it goes wrong. And then there's a panty flash. So I'm grateful that that's not recorded.
It's wonderful. But people can watch this later on Exclusive Books Facebook page. So that's the nice thing about a Zoom interview or Zoom chat, a Zoom kuier, like Tannie Maria would say, a Zoom kuier.
And so nice, all these people from around the world, from Gordons Bay and Cape Town and Cornwall and Scotland and Durbanville and Los Angeles, and we can't usually get together. So it's so lovely to get together, and so lovely that Tannie Maria can bring us together.
Absolutely. Okay, the ritual of writing. Because I know PG de Plessis once told me, when I said I'm struggling and I want to write something, and to say, man, gaan koop net super glue. Just get super glue and just get your bum on the seat. Don't just sit and sit and sit. Don't get up. It's hard work. It's a lonely job. To write is lonely. What's your ritual?
That's the best advice. It really is. I mean, people who say they wait for the muse, or they do this or they do that, it's you've got to sit and you've got to do it. And I mean, people do have different approaches. I like to, in terms of my ritual, what I like to do is go for a run when I'm in the Karoo, which is most of the time, and when I feel up for it. And when I'm in Muizenberg, which I sometimes, as I go for a swim. And then I do most of my writing in the Karoo. So there's so many distractions in town. And then I'll just sit, but I really, really love it. I really love it. So if I can I don't need the glue. I just need to get my bum there in the first place, because I do get distracted, and I've got to go up the mountain to get reception. And sometimes I'll get drawn in there a bit with emails, but mostly I'll try just do a quick check. If there's something that's not urgent, I'll deal with it later, because I'm freshest in the morning. And I generally have quite a good plan, so I don't have to spend too long thinking, what am I going to write about? And I I've got a plan, but then I kind of just enter into Tannie Maria's head and look from her eyes at my plan for the day and see what happens. And it's quite an entertaining and magical process for me. So I really find it delightful. I'm not one of those writers who says, oh, writing is a burden and makes my soul bleed and all that. I mean, it's hard work. Like doing anything well is hard work. I mean, you know that. It's just to do it properly. It just takes, well, I don't know if hard work's the right word, because it's fun, but you've got to put in the hours, and you've got to be committed, and you've got to see something through, and you've got to do a proper job. And for me, I'm only going to do that if I enjoy it. Why else? And it's all fun for me. The writing's fun, the editing is fun, the launches are fun, even though they're scary for me. It's actually more stressful for me than a lot of the other things. But it's my opportunity to be yay and to thank people and to show up, and often and they do help me sometimes get a sense of where I'm at and what I want to do next. So yeah, the ritual, I don't jump around 3 times. I had a cat who I dedicated this book to.
I saw that.
Who was big in my life. Yeah, I actually just come back from a trip to Egypt, which was in honor of my cat. I took 37 sculptures and hid them in sacred places across the land, including the pyramids. That's another story.
Oh, that's a story. Next time invite me. I want to go with.
Okay. I'll remember that.
I will. But I will go with.
some of the people from that trip. I saw Sarah was here, and there might be other people from that trip who I met who now we just fell in love with each other. Now the cat has brought more love in my life. But she'd sit with me the whole time, and she'd rub her head against as people who have cats know, they like to run up and down across the screen. And she had a whole document that my agent thought was quite promising when I sent it to her. She did steal some of mine. She did do some copy and paste, but she presented in a fresh way and new symbols and hieroglyphics. Anyway, I digress. Oh, she was a part of that. So they'd be moving her to my desk, and then I kind of, I do get a little bit glued to I'll have to be interrupted. I'll tend to write a chapter or 1,000 words is what I do on the first round. And then I do a lot of coming back and rewriting and polishing. And although most of it is in the first draft, but I find in the editing, you want you want to feel not just the words, but how does it land on the reader's body and heart? You got to like feel it as well as looking at the words. So that's another process for me.
Well, here's someone asking, Roy says, it's a wonderful, lovely chat, but why the funny wig?
Okay, he missed the beginning. You missed the beginning. You missed the song. So Marilyn Monroe, I'm the one wearing the wig, obviously. Marilyn Monroe is one of the characters that I often dress up as the characters.
And then you've got to go and, Roy, you've got to go and buy the book, The Milk Tart Murders, and then you'll know why Marilyn is important in this book.
There, you'll see Marilyn, and there, so you understand.
But in this book, you were quite tough on Tannie Maria.
The poor woman, I gave her a terrible time. I feel so bad. I promised her book 5 is just going to be like eating and dancing, and there'll be a murder mystery, but it won't stress her and Henk. Her and Henk and Jessie are just going to have a lovely time in book 5. I really gave. There'll be enough interesting, but the poor woman, she's really got to have a break. It was so hard.
You were tough on her. You were really physically, I did feel shame.
Oh yeah, and physically she had to climb up and over, and there was like a whole lot of physical stuff she doesn't usually do.
Exactly. So
entertaining for us. No lachos for the Tannie. Now we're laughing at the Tannie climbing, but it was hard for her.
No, and because you know what's the TV series started, and I see Leon van Nierop said hierdie storie is so Suid-Afrikaanse skaapribbetjie en koeksisters. He said about the TV series, yeah. And congratulations, not everyone gets a TV series. And I started looking, and I've got to get used to it because it's different from the book. Yeah. And you also have to adapt. You've got to watch this and think. Yeah, it's like totally. It's put in a different dress.
Totally. One's got to, I mean, I've had 3 years to adapt, and it's still a thing. In fact, when Sandra Prinsloo did the most beautiful audiobook where she speaks in everyone's voices so exquisitely. I mean, as you know, she's one of the best actresses on the planet, and she read every word as it is in the book. But I'd still struggle because, oh no, I don't hear it quite like that. So each of us as readers, I mean, I think this is the case with any translation, you have your perfect image of someone, and mine is different from yours. So even if we tried to do it, we wouldn't get it right. And in a way, I'm a little bit relieved the changes have been so big, because then you can, as Maria Doyle Kennedy says, it's not a copy of the book, it's a sister, or I'd say even it's a cousin. So there's a lot that is drawn from the book, and the celebration of life and food in South Africa and kindness and justice. And those are all there in the book. But the two main characters are very different, which for me makes it a little bit easier in a way. And you just say, this is something that's been inspired, is related to, but is different from. And the book stays exactly as it is. So some people say, oh, how can you let them change that? Firstly, it's not my department. I don't write the script. I do understand a lot of the changes, and I could, but it's not ready for me to explain. It's not my department. So people must go to the Facebook page, Recipes for Love and Murder, and make their comments and ask their questions. But it's an amazing thing to be part of a process where you spark this creative action, which hundreds of people are involved in. I mean, you know that from theater, maybe from as well. It's such a massive creative project, and it's so different. And one's got to somehow let go and enjoy it as something different. I think for those who don't want to see it, I understand it, but I think you're missing out, because it's something so joyful, and it will go international in September on Acorn this year. Now it's on Mnet Sundays at 8, but it will go international, and I think it's a wonderful ambassadress for South Africa. It's really celebrating some of the stuff instead of all the bad news that they get and that the world gets.
I agree. And that's a point when I read your books and when I watched the first 2 episodes of the series is what's amazing about your books is often the platteland, the small towns are portrayed as achterlik, as not achterlik, but as not as stupid, but as eenvoudig, not the nice sense of simple.
Inferior. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't do that. Every character in your book is a hero. Everyone.
Yeah.
even the people who are the villains, even that are full-rounded and real. And they never achterlik. I never feel, Jessie, it's South African. You're not South African. You write, it's anyone, anywhere in the world. That's why everyone loves it, can read it and get the pictures and they don't think, shame.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't feel, shame. I can read your books and I don't feel, okay, I don't have to see, shame. None of your characters are shame. And the story is not shame. And we live in this beautiful country. Why should this be shame? So congratulations on that. Because
thank you.
Don't get around that. No, it was wonderful. It was, yeah. And it's easy reading, as you said. That's why you said it's the second, as a second language, and it was good for you. So it wasn't so involved. It's easy reading, but it's so descriptive. It's so gentle. I can see the hours you put in. I can see there's nie mog getroffen. It's not just, oh, that's a good word. Oh no, just get that. I can see the time. It's embroidered. But without becoming boring, without me skipping 3 pages and think, no, Sally, I've heard about this tree already. It's not like that. It's part of the storyline. So that is really amazing what you do there.
Thank you. Do you think I might read the first page?
Do
you think I could read the first page?
Please, 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 please.
So this is chapter 1 from the Milk Tart Murders. I woke to the sound of swallow chirrups. Every spring they fly across Africa, down to the Klein Karoo. They already had one nest on my stoep, and now they'd built another outside my bedroom window, made of mud, like my house. Henk grunted and rolled over, his arm falling across my chest. I was wearing my cotton nightie, and he was naked. I smiled at this big sleeping man with his chestnut moustache and strong arms. My smile woke him. He propped himself up on an elbow. Marry me, he said. No, I said. My late husband Fani had put me off marriage for life. But maybe we could live together, I said, stroking the silver and copper hairs on his chest. You could move in here. Henk turned onto his back, put his hands behind his head and looked up at the Oregon ceiling. Maybe we should leave things just like they are, he said. Shadows fluttered across my sash window. Swallows, leaving the nest. Is this about Norma? I asked. All her stuff in your house. Norma was Henk's late wife. She had died a few years ago, but his home was still full of her furniture and photographs and recipe books. Recipe books. We could go to a movie together, he said, this afternoon. But it's Saturday. You watch rugby with Richard. Jessie convinced him to go to Opa Frik's movie, Henk said. It's a love story. Okay, I said, but first you can help me bake a lemon drizzle cake.
Okay, here's a question. Karen's actually a very good question. Do you write chronologically, or do you start at the end and work towards the beginning? Or sommer write all die mekaar?
I like the 3 options, A, B, or C, or none of the above. People ask, at literary festivals, I learned this term, plotter and pantser. And pantsers write by the seat of their pants. I'm a plotter. I write the synopsis, then I write the first chapter, which is very much I start at the beginning so I can hear the voice and the flavor and the feeling. And then I get even more detailed and I write, so sometimes I break it up, I structure it. This last book, I followed some of the classic hero's journey where you have ordinary world and then a challenge. It's a bit of a Joseph Campbell's myth, the way a story or act is, the acts of a play are written. And I broke it up into that and I had a tin with sections where I marked each different section leading up to the climax and the dark night of the soul. And then I kind of forgot about that. But then I do list things that happen. So I know, and that does change, but I've generally got a plan. I've got a list. So chapter 3, where am I? Okay, Tannie Maria meets Mevrouw Poegenpoel or whatever. So the plan is there, but the plan is like this. It's bare, but it's very clear scaffolding. And then I step into the writing, and it's a little bit of an altered state thing where I'm more doing the clay on it and the shaping and the polishing, and that is unplanned. That is me having fun in the moment. And for me, that's where a lot of the magic happens. So some people say, I don't want to plan because then I'll get bored. For me, I need a good plan also because, like Agatha Christie, I want a carefully calculated thing with the various red herrings and a plot where it's going. But I want the magic to be in how something's told and how you moved and the description of a feeling and the process. So that for me is quite unplanned and magical.
Yeah, I can't imagine writing a murder mystery and not knowing what's going to happen in the end. I mean, how else? You need
that.
Well, I wouldn't be. It's like Hansel and Gretel. You need to drop all the things and pick them up and let your reader and keep them in suspense. How else? You don't know how it's going to end.
No, I like that metaphor, dropping them and then picking them up again at the end. Because you've got to do, it's actually very neat because I've got all sorts of strands. There's also the strands of the letter writers, and some of them will often go all the way through the book. So there's a number of picking up things. The main thing is the murder story, and then there's the letters, and then there's the love story, and then there's the recipes. So they've all got to be dropped and picked up. I like to work on that. I don't want to come to the end of the book and realize, oops,
No. And every time at the end of the book, there's always surprises. So you keep it that way. It's work.
I still get surprises. So I still have a plot plan, but like this book, for example, something happened that I only realized halfway through. Oh my goodness. It's like, oh, in a soap opera, this person's married to their sister. I didn't realize it. There isn't it. There was something very shocking to me that I didn't plan and that I could then add at a later stage, but that's unusual.
Yeah, this one was quite. You've got to know who's who in the family in this last book of yours, in the Milk Tart Murders.
I think it maybe needed a little drawing with a tree in the family because there were a lot of new characters from Opa Frik's family. Maybe one of them we should draw a little thing with the cousins and aunts and things. So you don't have to keep. I do try and say, I do try to remind people, but it's sometimes too much.
No, you do remind, and it wasn't necessary for me to. You just need to be awake.
You got to be sharp,
yeah, you be sober when you read. But
it's a murder mystery. Wake up.
Yeah, you've got to. Yeah, and what's nice, in some of your characters you carry through, even though they're not main characters, in all 4 of the books.
Yes.
Nice because they become like family, and because you have met them as a bigger part in the first book, but now they're in the spa. Yes, I know what she's looking like. I know what she's going to buy, and that's all. It's just a hello, and it's just a setting that everyone who has read all the books knows what you're talking about. So that's
I try and make it so that they each stand alone, but that there's a continuity. So if you want to, people ask, should they read them in order? You don't have to, but you may as well.
You don't have to. You can, if you've never read Sally's book, you can start with the Milk Tart Murders if you want to, but I promise you, then you're going to go back and you're going to buy the other 3. So you might as well start at the beginning because it's wonderful. But what is also great is you can read this book on its own and you'll still know what's happening. You give the information that's needed from the previous books, but it's not boring. It's not, I'm reading the whole first book again. It's just glimpses. And as a reader, I know, okay, yes, no, all the new people need to know that. So, okay, fine. Now we carry on. So, yeah, that's amazing. And like you said, you write to heal. And I think that's wonderful. Like Marilyn also said, keep smiling because life is a beautiful thing and there's so much to smile about. So the healing in your books, I think that's very important. And that you decide beforehand. You decide this book.
I do. I mean, I have a certain theme. So in this book, I had a theme of jealousy because it was something I needed to work through. And I mentioned it even on that first page. She's jealous of Henk's dead wife, Norma. And there's an issue there, and there's issues he hasn't grieved. So I choose an issue that I want to work through around jealousy and self-worth. And in this case, I really went into her relationship to food and asked the question, does she have an eating disorder? I suppose so people don't get too scared. No, she doesn't, but she's got eating issues, and we all have issues related to addiction. And I was wondering whether to take that out because she doesn't actually need, but I've got some sections, we've got the Rickers holding groups instead of PTSD groups, post-traumatic stress disorder that he did in book 2. It was now 12 steps, but people from all different things, one of which was a subgroup around eating disorders. And Tannie Maria, she was in the subgroup, and one of their slogans is face your stuff, don't stuff your face, which I think is such a true but light way of approaching life, but not just if you have an eating disorder, but how do we all live in avoidance? And the difficulty of just being human, we've got to face a whole lot of difficult emotions. It's not just smiling and laughing. And if we can find a way to face that and be easy with it and be true with it, then talking of which, I think it's time for this to come off. Suddenly realized I could come out of the closet. I'm not actually Marilyn Monroe. How to be comfortable in our own skin with who we are and what we are, and that's a journey for us all. So a lot of what I work through is something I need to work through, but I'm also looking where Tannie Maria's at and what are the archetypal issues and things we need to face. And a whole exploration of what is my essence and what is my higher self was something that I think is handy for us all. And I'm a member of a 12-step program, CODA, Codependency Anonymous, which is kind of broadly related to the alcoholism, but more the people who families and friends are alcoholics, and you're the one who fusses and fixes things. But the same principles apply regardless of what your problem or your issue is. And I wondered if I could read a little bit about Tannie Maria and the essence. Can I read that?
Please, yes.
So it's also a way, it just shows you a bit of the Karoo. And now she's been in these meetings with Rickers, who's trying to say, listen in to your higher power, and all she hears is like the bleating of the sheep, when she's trying to hear a higher power, and he's saying, feel for what your soul's essence is, and she's just not getting it. And then later on, I looked in my cupboard and found almond essence and vanilla essence. Maybe I should bake a milk tart, but instead I closed the cupboard and walked across my garden and out into the veld, past purple veilchies and tall bushes of yellow Karoo gold flowers. I went and sat in the shade of my old friend, the guarri tree. It gave me a seat on a low, thick branch. I took off my shoes and felt the earth under my feet and looked up into the canopy of wrinkled dark green leaves. A pair of starlings flew away, their wings glowing red against the sunlight. The tree was kind and generous, giving home, food, and comfort to so many creatures. There were bulbuls nesting in its branches and ants and beetles crawling along its cracked bark. In summer, it would make flowers for the bees, then berries for the birds and baboons. On the ground at my feet were young roos bushes with glistening leaves and hoof prints and little piles of bokdrolletjies. And now the guarri was welcoming and sheltering me. It was easy to feel the essence of this tree. It was hundreds of years old, but it had grown very slowly with the shy rains. Maybe its essence was more concentrated because of this. Or maybe it's easier to notice another's essence than your own. I tried to see myself from the tree's point of view. It had a bird's eye view of me and would feel my weight on its branch. But there was something else less physical that I was looking for. What was inside, at the core of Maria van Harten? After a while, I did get a sense, a flavor of my own essence. It did not taste too bad after all, kind of like vetkoek and mince, but with a hint of something unusual, something tangy like ginger and lemon peel. I smiled and patted the trunk of the guarri. Maybe the tree was my higher power, for today, anyway.
Yeah. But I think
you can tell I'm homesick. You can tell I'm homesick. I haven't been back to the Karoo for a while, so I keep thinking about it to keep me sane.
But you see, so your books, okay, murder mystery, they cookbooks in a certain sense, not in a certain sense, there's lovely recipes in it. It's a love story, and it's a self-help book. So it's all in one.
Yes, I'm cheating. I'm reading the self-help stuff because if I read you the murder stuff, it's going to give too much away. But
I agree. You're
but
not
it is
cheating.
very much, but it's primarily a murder mystery. But as you can, yeah, as you say, all sorts of other things I sneak in because of what I enjoy.
But you sneak it in, and that's the important part, because
Yeah.
you don't even know you're busy. You don't even know you're busy reading a self-help. And then you think, oh, but I can relate. Yes, I can feel this. So it's wonderful. Now I think it's so good that you do plot and plan from the start. Okay, another question. If you've got any questions, please type them in the Q&A. Suna Engelbrecht asked, do you think Spar will ever sponsor for all the advertising?
I can't answer that. I think it's a good joke, though. They should. But a lot of that just to tell people. So there's a Spar, which is the local grocery store in Ladismith. And that's where a lot of action takes place because that's where people meet and chat and where the shopping goes. So that's a good question, but I don't know. It's a good thing. My publicist, I have actually mentioned to her once that maybe they'll sponsor at least the food for the launches because they do get mentioned a lot.
They do get mentioned a lot, and in all the books and the character. Yeah, that's the meeting point. So okay, Danica asks Sally, where did Tannie Maria's banana and toasted cheese recipe come from? Tried it.
That's my dad. So that I do that, and he makes toasties op die braai. So we'd often have like toasted cheese, and to me, it's also a way of, yeah. So I can't even remember where that one was. I don't put it as a recipe at the end. Cheese, banana, sometimes tomato and onions in there. But that's my dad. I dedicated the third book to him, and he died when I was writing it. But he actually, he's still very much, I mean, especially now I've been on to a trip to Egypt and experienced immortal souls in a different way. Because I didn't go to church and learn about it properly there. I had to go to Egypt and go to all these sacred places. I digress. Oh, he was very helpful again recently. Like I didn't want to dress up for one of the launches, and he was the one who reminded me, like, no, we do celebration, we do acts of gratitude, and we give entertainment, because entertainment, it's just a joy. It's just a big part of why we're alive is to entertain each other. Whether it's in the middle of a war, people have got to play cards and tell stories. And it's part of what we are as humans. So there's messages in what we do, but there's also just entertainment. There's also just fun and lightness and stories.
And that's important, because if we don't have that, it's like a seesaw. If we don't have the light and the fun, it would become.
Yeah, then why bother?
And it's also, it's like a party you don't want to go, and when you get there, it's amazing. It's the same.
Yeah.
You feel and as soon as you've done it, you feel, I feel much better about myself. It's fun.
Yeah, show up. That's a big message in the like 12-step groups. Is just a lot of what you've got to do is show up. Is show up.
Okay, but you see,
I'd like to add show up and have fun.
show up and have fun, and you've got that in your book as well, like Jessie's ringtones. That's loads of fun.
Yes. What would you do if I sang out a tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Yeah, I had lots of fun with that. But that is a good also point to remember that that somehow that always song takes me onto my gratitude for all my friends and all the people who've helped make the book, all the people who read the book, all the people who are involved. So I get by with a little help from my friends. But all her ringtones are different. She's set a different ringtone for different people. So that's also just a fun way of bringing song and dance into the book. There's quite a song and dance theme in the book as well.
Yeah, there is, and she's funky, and she's modern, and she's young, and she's computer literate, and she's everything that Tannie Maria isn't, but they're best friends. So,
yes.
And that is they bring out the best in one another and the worst probably, because they it's like family. You're allowed to say, you don't know how to work a computer, but no one else.
Yes.
So for one another, they're really like, family.
Yeah, very much so.
But you said,
and I like also the way Jessie's got this little red scooter and Tannie Maria can jump on the back of it. and that they sort of have that image of them.
Yes. Oh, that's a wonderful image, a wonderful one, especially when I watch the TV show now. Yeah, I really got the image. And someone's just commenting, all those geckos. Yeah, Jessie's got all those geckos. But you said you're not really into food, or you're into food, but you're not really a chef. So where do you get all the recipes and all the ideas from?
Sorry, I'm reading other questions at the same time. Well, the long story of that will be answered in my acknowledgements, because each recipe comes from a different source. But in this one, I did a lot of research. I mean, everyone's a lot of research, and sometimes the recipe informs the character, and sometimes the character calls for the recipe. In this one, I included quite a few of my own recipes, because I always say, no, I'm not a chef. And then my friends and family say, nonsense, some of my most delicious meals are at your house. And I do make some nice meals, but I'm not a proper chef. So I always employ a lot of chefs. Not a lot. I employ a chef to test everything. With this last one, we had an event at La Fontaine in Franschhoek, which had 30 people, and we had to fill in forms about what they liked and comment on things. And I had professional tasters like Marie-Louise Guy. She's such a brilliant taster. She could say, pinch more cumin, and then I'd retest things. So it's quite a long process for me. And I read a lot of books and explore till my criteria with the recipe is that it's got to be moan out loud delicious, and that takes me a while to get it to that. So that's why I quite like not having that many recipes for a book, because I've got very high standards, but obviously they're personal one, and food is a taste thing, but I don't have the background. I enjoy eating, and I enjoy delicious food.
But do you make all those recipes while you're writing that book? Do you prepare?
Yes, while I'm writing it, and then I have a big testing session at the end. I have a few months where I test and retest, and I learn to make things myself. So like sourdough bread, I really didn't know how to make, and it's a whole adventure well beyond my understanding. But that was really a beautiful process. And I've got some lovely friends who've helped me and taught me how to make things. So there's things I learned only because of Tannie Maria. It's not the other way around. It's not like I'm this brilliant chef and I share things, but she insists I do things in the most delicious way. I must say, I let myself get distracted by a story. Are you into writing just for the money?
No,
someone
I saw that one from Roy. Roy was also big.
No, but I just think, isn't it amazing that anybody can think that writing is something that earns you money? It's like
Roy?
Or just so occasionally I have been enormously lucky that I've been able to make a living from writing, but it's a tiny percentage of writers who do that, as in with most of the arts, even filmmaking, which I sort of thought, oh, it's financial. Unless you love something and unless you're good at it, most creators of any sort are forfeiting a comfortable life because of a passion. And we do it. I mean, you know that as an actor, as a performer, you do it because you love it. And if you did it for the money, you would have given it up like long ago. And if we're lucky, we scrape by. If you're very lucky, you earn a decent living. I have been unusually lucky, but that can never be your starting drive, and it can never be what sustains you, because it won't work. It's like a well from another place. There must be people who do it for the money, but even the sort of big bestsellers, they can't, they've only got to that point because of a process of deep love and deep passion for creativity. So for me, it's just like it's a really funny question. But anyway, it distracts me.
I saw that question, but no one in the arts, writing, acting, anything, you're never in that for the money, because if you had to put the same hours into any other job, you would have made 100 times more.
Yes, so, even in a video store, except video stores have now closed down, just the hours. I sort of don't understand it, and I actually find it an amazing thing that we have so many artists and creators. I think the thing is, what's true is most of us, it's a hobby, and we keep up there's a day job that you keep up at the same time, and then at a certain point you get very lucky, and then you do more of that. But it's all of the arts, it's sort of an amazing thing, part of the human condition, that we will go down that route. And even movies, which I think I used to be a bit snobbish about, once I looked in on the process of creation and how expensive it was and how difficult it was.
Very.
That everybody's in there. I mean, people have got to eat, so you go on to earn a living, but it's just this incredible, crazy act of commitment to love, life, entertainment, and storytelling. And I mean, I do think there are industries who need to make a living, but even like my publishers, I understand they wouldn't, they really, their primary thing is their love of books, and that's what keeps them going through the lean times and the difficult times. And if there wasn't for that, it wouldn't keep going. Of course, in every industry, there are people who are narrow-minded, and thankfully also people who look at the books and who manage it, but they just don't, they're different things. And it's just lucky that they sometimes earn living so that people get the chance to see things.
Yes, and you are very fortunate, but you're brilliant. And your books have been translated in 14 languages. I mean, that's amazing. And that's why you can do this full time. Otherwise, people will think you make money out of writing books. Oh, crazy. I've got a good friend. He writes excellent.
Yeah.
His first book, he paid in because he had to take time off.
Yes. Yes.
Making his movies and his stuff, and yeah, it's expensive to write. It's not cheap because it takes a lot of time.
It does. So just to give quick answers to some of the other questions, Roy Lubkin, no. The audiobooks, Sandra Prinsloo's done such a beautiful audiobook, Sarah. You got to listen to those. They should be available. You can't compete with her. The TV series is running already. It's on Mnet in South Africa, Recipes for Love and Murder, and it's also on Catch Up at 8 o'clock on Sundays. But the TV series, some of it was set in Scotland, and in September it will be coming out on Acorn. And in your mind already formulating the next book? Yes, well, I've got the story for the next cookbook. That's going to be a short story, and then as I come to the end of one book, I always start on the other. And thank you for your thank you.
Are you going to write a cookbook, or is it going to be another murder mystery?
It's going to be a cookbook with a short story that's a murder mystery.
Okay, so it's the other way around. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it's going to be back to front, the next one, and then I'll start on another one that's full time. Does she resemble anyone? She's not one character, but she's mainly come from my mind, but I have met people who are like her. More I write things and then I discover them in real life. I invent them and then I meet them, which is a bit weird because people think I'm basing it on them, but I'm inventing them anyway.
That's the wonderful thing about writing. You can make it, you take a strand or you take an idea and you build it bigger and larger than life, but still from a real gut feeling and from honesty. And that's why it works that way.
And there was just one other question. Will Tannie Maria age? She's been aging slowly, 3 months with every book, whereas it's actually every 3 years a book comes out, every 2 or 3 years. So I don't know if she'll be Tiny Peter Pan. I'll have to see. Once I finish this series, I could maybe jump ahead when I finish this 4 and the cookbook. So I'll decide, will I carry on with the 4 seasons at a time or will I jump ahead? I think she needs to age slowly. I think I'm already overtaking her. I'm going to overtake her some more.
Yeah, I think she's got to. What's nice about Tannie Maria, you can't make her age quickly because it's like food. It's slow preparation.
Yes, nothing happens quickly. There's no quickly with Tannie Maria.
No. We've come at the end of our session, which is unbelievable because Sally, I can actually chat to you for another 3 hours.
And I wanted to read to you about the goat, but I've lost the page. I love the goat.
I love the goat. But
it
now
makes me laugh so much, that goat.
They've got to buy the book.
Mildred the goat.
Oh, love Mildred. I could see the picture. Mildred's got a spirit. You've got to buy the book, The Milk Tart Murders. It's at Exclusive Books. It's also available online. You won't regret it, I promise you. But buy all 4 of them if you haven't read the first 3. Sally, you are one of a kind. It's amazing what you're doing. I can't wait for the next book. And I can't wait to reread these because I was so read them all again and just enjoy them.
Thank you so much, Margit. You're one of a kind. And like with the characters in the books, the heroes, we're all heroes. We're all heroes, and we're all exploring what are our iconic selves. And let's have fun with that instead of squashing ourselves down and making life harder than it has to be. Part of our iconic selves is the hard stuff we've got to overcome. But we're all iconic beings, and let's find what those are and celebrate.
Well, you've got the last word, because that's the last word. All your characters are heroes, and that's why it was so nice reading them. It was
No,
like
that's what you said. It's such a good line.
Oh, did I? But I guess, but
Yes.
they are all heroes, every one of them, because they're human, and we're all human. So,
Yeah, and we're all heroes. We're all on our own hero's journey.
well, I don't know where you're rushing off next, but I know you're working your. Where's Roy? Roy, you work very hard to sell your books as well. You've got to chat to everyone. You've got to fly the country. You've got to be online. You've got to You've got to do publicity. You've got to shake hands. You've got to, like Sally said, this is one of the difficult things to do, is actually to sell yourself. And it's difficult when you're an artist and you're creating art, if it's a book or a play, and then you've got to say, listen, I believe so much, and it's part of your gut, I'm selling this, please buy it. And this is what we're doing now. So it's difficult. All those different layers, not just sitting on your chair or underneath the tree or in the karoo and writing. It's a whole process, and it's a whole team.
Thank you so much, Margit. I'm such an e-tard. You've got to tell me, how do I look at the end of this? Will I be able to look through some of the chats? Because I didn't want to read it when I could look at your gorgeous face. But I'll find out afterwards. I'm just scared when it's over now, I won't be able to see all this.
I'm also going to find out afterwards. Like you, Sally.
There's Roy again, is how I asked that because I heard from others that you were just a big capitalist.
Now, I say I just love to answer about money, my view completely. I asked that because I heard, yeah. Oh yes, okay, yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we were clever enough to know what was going to make money and just do that, you know?
Nah.
And then people could do it just as a living instead of for fun, you know, then those people could get on with doing that. As if we knew there are these formulas and we could do them to get money, and wouldn't that be nice? But I also think when someone does well, I had it as well. When someone did well, I had this envy, and then I had to consciously shift from the envy and say, I'm inspired because I want to do those things that they are doing. And it was a conscious shift in my mind. And there is a certain amount that when you do well, which a small amount of writers do, there are a whole lot of reactions, and that's part of life. When you like stick your head up in any way, there might be people who want to cut that down, and that's just a mentality that we all got to get out of, because we're all flowers and we all want to grow and we all want to celebrate that and be inspired by success. So it's kind of like it's part of what I've got to learn to deal with, but mostly I just hide because I live in the karoo and I just focus on the books. So, but it is interesting when you have exposure like this to see all those different things.
But it's also,
you can save the chat. You're one of the co-hosts, so you can save the chat. Save the chat. Yes.
Yay, thank you.
And I can read all these things that could keep me up all night worrying.
But like you said now, we're chatting on. But okay, the thing about feeling jealous, that's also very human, because
it's very human. And that's what I explored a lot in this book as well, because it's something that I struggle with.
Especially when you work creatively. I mean, some of my best friends, when they get a great part, I think, obviously my first thought is, great, you've got to work and you're perfect for it. And I think, how can I do that? I also want to do that. I don't want that part, but I also want to, and then you work through it, because it's not, what I'm saying, it's not negative to feel jealous. Just recognize what you're feeling.
Yes.
And then it will take you to a different level. That's all.
Yes. All our feelings are to be recognized and then moved through to what is best for us as a human.
Yeah.
In the biggest sense of best, not in the stepping on each other kind of best.
Sally, it was an honor meeting you.
And you, Margit, thank you so much. And thank you so much for everyone to sitting here for an hour when we could be like doing something else.
No, they couldn't. They had to sit with the two Marilyns.
Thank you. And look, here's people I know from all over the world saying sweet things. Thank you so much.
Oh, that was wonderful having this chat. When I'm in Ladismith, I will definitely pop in. And when you're in Muizenberg, please give me a call. And we can't wait for your next book. But first, people, go out, go to Exclusive Books. The Milk Tart Murders. It's a brilliant book. Yeah, you've got to keep your kop together, but it's a wonderful book to read. And yeah, I'm so glad I actually discovered you and your work.
I look forward to meeting you again. I think we're not done, Margaret.
Good night, everyone.
We're going to play out with Marilyn Monroe's actual song, which was from Some Like It Hot, which they didn't actually play in the movie.
Oh,